I think there's also other lessons you can take from Geron's story. I mean, obviously some people might see that as a move away from a stem cell therapy. Doesn't bode well for the field, but its investors punished Geron for that step. It's not like people rushed in to take advantage of this great new idea they had to do oncology drugs. And if you look at a company called In Vivo Therapeutics, a small cap, investors rushed into In Vivo Therapeutics because they're doing a spinal cord injury repair cell therapy. That's a Bob Langer technology. So I think there's a lot of investors wanting to get into this space. That shows that there's allegiance from investors that have been in this space, and I think that there's folks that are going to continue to be drawn to the story.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. So then also, I mean, while we're on the topic though of partners, so this morning we heard in the plenary discussion and in Greg's comments, he was talking about this virtuous cycle of development and innovation, and the cycles that we've seen in the life sciences and the biotech field over time. I think you referenced, the mid-90s and the work with large proteins and monoclonal antibodies, and how the pharmaceutical side of the sector came along to understanding the real value of it, and then obviously is playing a key role in the development of that sector now. And what does that portend for this sector? Are we going to see the same thing? Is it just a matter of time? And I think one of the conversations that's happening all around here over the course of these 2 days is, what is pharma's role going to be in this sector going forward? And I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I think one of the things that's different about today versus actually 10 or 15 years ago is that there are fewer pharma companies. And they're facing challenges today that you can say whether you anticipated them 15 years ago, but we all know what's happening to their R&D budgets, cutting people, cutting money. There's a lot fewer of them. The larger deals in this space, or the bigger deals, are being done by the mid-sized companies, by Shire, by Cephalon, Teva, and others. So, what do we think about pharma's role in this industry? Ed, most of you.
Yeah. We spend, and I know a lot of people in this room do as well. So, but we spend a lot of time talking to pharma companies, either meetings, but a lot at scientific meetings, a lot at symposiums, Keystone conferences. So it's a constant amount of data coming in. And I think we can go into details in each one, but the general feeling I would say is, as it relates to cell therapy, as it relates to modalities that are non-small molecule, non-antibody, non-recombinant protein, and then you move off the basically established platforms, there is interest. There are groups that follow it, but there is a higher bar. There's a higher bar because nobody's, as we like to say, nobody in big pharma gets up in the morning and says, today I've got to do a zinc finger deal, right? They may get up and say, I got to do a small molecule deal, I got to do it. And it's just a higher bar, whether it's safety, whether it's efficacy, whether it's cost of goods analysis, whether it's reimbursement analysis. It's a higher bar, and I think that's one of the things we plan for, from a financing perspective, from a clinical trials perspective. It's just you got to paddle your own canoe a lot longer.
Yeah, and I tend to echo that. I think that if we look at the space, there's been a smattering of deals, some small ones, some big multi-billion-dollar, approaching multi-billion-dollar deals. So I think there's interest in the space. There's validation. It's proof that the space is actually maturing and there's progress. And we tend to talk, as probably everybody else, to most of the big companies. They're there, they're interested. We're finding that many of the big companies are having regenerative medicine groups now, and maybe it's only a couple people, but I think it tends to emphasize their interest, and they're looking, and this is an enormous sandbox, and it can't be ignored forever by these guys. So I think it's, what's the catalyst that's going to really drive decisions and bigger investment? And I think we're getting there. It's really progress, and as our conversations with big partners continue to mature, feeling more confident that you can get something done. I think